Welcome to the Romanian River channel and my first impressions of Synthetic Dawn, Stellaris' new DLC focused on expanding the story slash feel of machine empires basically, which up until now were more or less restricted to either Utopia owners who had gone through the ascendancy line to become inorganic from organic, i.e. the flesh is weak branch, or via modding, which allowed, I believe from day one of Stellaris 1.0, various incarnations of inorganic factions. Now, from my point of view as a side spoiler going forward, the DLC itself's a bit off. It's priced at about 10 euros. It's not lacking content, but certain bits are just off in my impression. The design decisions are weird to me, at least. Now, before I get too much into it, as I said, the price is 10 euros, and the expectation is that the side with the synthetics is fully fleshed out. I won't be talking about the features included in patch 1.8.0 Capec, or how it's pronounced, I believe it's Czech or something of the sort, because to be honest that would take way too long and I want to keep the video as short as possible. Now, speaking the elephant in the closet, i.e. the lovely new faction, about the robotic factions, that is, the inorganic, which to be honest are, in my opinion, very limited. I mean, yeah, you select the species, the species via the appearance, you go machine, you go in, well, the ruler is eternal basically unless he short circuits, which is a new thing you can actually get, though it is very rare by comparison to organics. It still does happen. And your guys can still die, of course. You're not network AIs that basically are like, oh, I'm gonna die, shame I can back myself up into a mainframe. And now, the problem I see with the DLC and my most glaring issue with it is the fact that you're limited to Gestalt consciousness, regardless of what playstyle you want to go with the machines themselves. You can't be, for example, militaristic spiritualist by some miracle machines. You can only ever be Gestalt consciousnesses. The Gestalt bit gives you access to the robot's specific traits, which gives you some interesting things to play around with, like built to last, okay, driven assimilator. This will make everybody bloody well hate you, but it will also give you the option to basically invade primitives from the get-go, assimilate them within a couple of turns, and then basically have a free colony for whatever the amount of influence points you require to actually get the planetary incursion going. And there's a bunch of other stuff you can poke around with and swap and change in game, because you do get the option to refine your species of robots, so to say, via acquiring machine points or something of the sort. Basically, you can select in here whatever you want from the get-go, like flaws and perks. Well, in this particular case it's only perks, because to be honest the traits themselves over here will matter a bit. The civics, yeah, they're not affected by machine points. That was my mistake personally, but yeah, I do these things live without scripts, and I am kind of pooped at the current time. Whatever. These are affected by machine points, as I said earlier. The civics you can change via civic points, which you get at various intervals. I've not actually seen the exact timing or requirements for it, even though I've played Stellaris for 100+ hours. I'm basically a pretty big dumbass. I see people going, oh my god, I beat the AI at hard. I'm like, yeah, I'm not beating it at normal. It's basically taking me behind the chemical shit and not shooting me before actually, well, not Oh, actually I should keep it more PG-13, but suffice to say, shooting me would be preferable before it does the other stuff. So yeah, you change stuff out. Basically, recommendations is take whatever you want by design, like for example, the ones I cobbled together, which, yeah. I do like me Meninus faction, went with logic engines which boosts up research, superconductive, and bulky and other stuff. And I went with driven simulator and warbots. Why? Because you can basically Borg your way to victory, or Borg your way to not getting bent over by the first erudite explorers you meet. Because the erudite explorers, once they meet you, they want to be like, oh, you're machines, oh, we'll like annex you. And yeah, it's problematic to say the least. Being a driven simulator means everybody will hate you. I'm pretty sure robots are kind of universally reviled, because as far as I've experienced, let me just go to civics. We have the driven exterminator, which is basically a fanatical purifier. Nobody likes those guys. The assimilators, yeah, nobody likes those guys. And I don't suspect this will be that much, how should I put this, loved. I'm gonna put it this way. And I'm just gonna load up a couple of saves, well, quite a few saves, because I did spend about 10 hours to 15 just poking around, finding issues, and I did find 1 or 2 issues with the game itself. Like, let's just go with this one. Because basically, how should I put this? Once you can liberate planets like you can do with other factions, or you can choose to take them in and you will assimilate them gradually and not have issues with factions and other stuff, which is another perk. You're basically one unified whole, but from my opinion, robots shouldn't always be a unified whole, not every robot's a Geth or a Borg or whatever. Well, technically the Borg are cyborgs, but differences in semantics, not withholding. Now, the main problem is, for example, these guys, which I poked around with, I liberated. This is a rather glaring issue. Why do they not have a name, an ethics, and why are they despicable neutrals? I mean, from my point of view, I'm more or less a expansionistic bastard, because that's what an assimilator is basically, and with some technological leanings via the whole logic bit. This in and of itself does not bode well for the DLC itself, because this is probably going to be how launch day will be. And not having anything but despicable neutrals, well, to be honest, they're not trustworthy in the least, and they will start off hating you. Because, yeah, you are a dreaded assimilator. Oh yeah, you liberated us, but we still fucking hate your ass. And yeah, give us at least ethics and a faction which we liberated, which is more aligned with our own ethics, with the machine spirit itself. And also, for example, give us the ability to have more than one orientation in terms of ethics. Not only a Gestalt entity, like for example fractured AIs or fractured AI societies, for example, which are basically non-network AIs which collaborate with each other by necessity, for example. Because, how should I put this? I doubt Skynet would have complete unity of its essence if organics were poking around with it. And as far as I can tell, all machine entities in the game are, well, within the DLC itself, outside of the ones that ascend, are basically organic created. So you basically beat the living stuffing out of your old creator, probably assimilated them, because, for example, yeah, I'm probably dead. How should I put this? if they were organic in origin, the organics probably had different ways of designing them, not only Gestalt and consciousnesses. The Gestalt consciousness itself is one of the easier ways to go about things, but it is also one of the deadliest because, well, if the core consciousness goes crazy, it will screw your entire civilization up. Warhammer 40k style, basically. Not Horus Heresy, Dark Age of Technology, Long Night transition, basically. Outside of this, there's not really much else to say about the game. I mean, there are a couple of Ascension perks which are machine specific, like for example machine worlds, which are useful. I have them in this save branch. Much further on I turned X-01 into a machine world, but I should put this, it's very freaking expensive to do, and the robots don't really get that much of a bonus from it. I mean, yeah, there's a 15% resource and I believe research bonus, but I don't think it really squares off that well versus a decently stocked Gaia world. And I'm not even gonna consider what ring worlds and other stuff like that do, so it's kinda middling. It's in tune with the whole feel of the DLC, but I really didn't feel the need to convert the rest of my worlds into machine worlds, particularly for, what was it, 15k-ish in energy credits, which is not a little, so to say. There's also the synthetic age, which gives you machine modification points. If it also gave machine modification points and ability to slot in more traits, yeah, like +1 trait, for example, to keep it balanced, that would have been good. As is, you can probably get enough machine modification points on your own, well before the point where you can actually require this as a necessity. I think you can get 2 or 3 from the total researches. I've gotten about 2 so far, in the most I got in with this one. So yeah, this is also fairly pointless. It's fluff, it's nice, but unless you get extra trait slots, it's gonna skip you time in research, but it depends if you actually have the necessity to research something else. Otherwise, it's, yeah. And there was also another one, synthetic age, I believe. Nah, only 2 extra ones for the machines. Everything else in here is modified for machines. For example, over here you have robot specific. This makes them glitch much less, and yes, it's very good to get, because as I said, I only got 1 in about 15 hours worth of faffing about, and I believe it was a researcher, and yeah, that was with this. Basically for 10 euros, the DLC itself, if you're a machine focused individual and you kind of like the whole network AIs bit in Gab fashion, yeah, this will be quite good. And I suspect that if anybody ever makes a full complete Mass Effect total conversion for the game, this DLC will probably be required to play the GAF, because yeah. For everybody else, yeah, the driven simulators are gonna be interesting to fight against. They're gonna give you more of a the parasitic race from Master Variant 3. I forget its name right now. The one that was created by the Antanas. That sort of vibe. Yeah, it'll give you something to campaign against. I've not bumped into any other machine factions or empires besides myself in the 4 games I've played so far at all, and I've had full maximum amount of AI empire, so I suspect that the DLC itself is limited to one machine faction in the rogue, servitor, assimilator, and whatever one the other one was, determined exterminator or whatever branch. So basically you can either play as them or you can play against them, but if you play as them you'll never find another faction like them, which is kind of odd considering, but maybe it's just a rarer chance to actually get them. Because for example in the... where was that? Supremacy, diplomacy, prosperity. There was one around here that gave you... how should I put this? See, another machine modification point. They're pretty abundant. I mean, unless you're going for peak optimum builds, which is not really required that much. Could have sworn there was one. Maybe they actually changed that because of the whole... because I do remember seeing it. Basically it gave you the bonus towards other machine empires, but I'm not seeing it anymore. Maybe they changed it. So yeah, for 10 euros, as I said, if you like the whole machine in the Gab style, or you're hoping for a Mass Effect mod, quite a interesting proposition to purchase. For everybody else, likely a bundle type DLC. It's not Utopia, it's fluff based, and I believe the patch itself includes quite a bit of this, but without the actual machine faction itself. So yeah. Thank you for watching, or more precisely surviving up until this point, because guys know the editing's kinda interesting and my voice has a melodic tone to it. If you like what you saw, feel free to hit the subscribe button, like button. It does help out the statistics of the channel, gets more visible, you know, stuff like that. And to be honest, at one point I would like to actually make this a job so I can do better content with better quality, more games, more coverage, you know, stuff like that. Take care.